Well, hello, it's Lee. Well, for this video, as the title says, it's going to be about extraterrestrial contact and the increasing contact thereof, which is certainly continuing and becoming more and more evident. What people can certainly recognize is the fact that now more than ever before, available internet and also news sources is the reality of this, and the fact that it's, as it involves everyone and is on a global scale, well, it's no wonder that it's coming to more and more in the spotlight. Being the second most popular topic of internet search, extraterrestrials, UFOs, certainly not for no reason. We can be very glad that, to put this in, that our proof and evidence of the existence of things is getting on the increase, which is very excellent. Photographs and video footage are now proving beyond shadow of a doubt that this is all very real. This being the case, it is still for us to understand a little bit of caution, because there are people who are afraid of this and who will seek to make light and make fun of it. There will be hoaxes and there will be a few things, but I would strongly say that which, how do you put it? What should be evident by this point, and it is for the heart to really know, and for the mind to go into its power of intuition and to say yes, and to, when something is clear, and to have the mind say, well, I can't take everything as a definite positive, but putting this together and that piece together, there you have it. So by that bit of a funny introduction nonetheless. Dear friends, fellow soul entities, human beings, etc. We are in this together. We are in this universe together. We are in an exciting time on the earth right now, are we not? Things are coming to a head. That which was prophesied and predicted and simply meant to be is playing out according more or less to the great master plan of the planet. We call it God's plan, or term it as you will. Now, what is happening now more and more is, as there have been people individually selected to have personal contacts with interdimensional beings and star travelers and such, we can call this our overall family. And, well, I don't wish to complicate it too much, but life is life, soul is soul, and we do have a similar source. And as we expand out and are individuated and expressed from this source, we may seem to have our differences, but those who are truly willing and able to look can see that the differences do not have to be expressed violently or in a way of competition with each other, but embraced, and as the goal towards our unity. So this being expressed in a human level on the planet, already on this planet we see no two people are exactly alike, but all are bound by common things. We look at different races and cultures, and we can see Caucasian types, Black African types, Asiatic types of various sorts, etc. The four colors of man, as I said, maybe it's, many shades in between, but there you have it. So already on this earth, we are, hopefully by now and more than ever before, and some people are still resistant according to the level that they're at, but we are more than ever before looking past the small differences and those such things that are only skin deep. Even one might be tempted to say that even male and female is only skin deep because it is of a temporary embodiment, but it's not really there. We could speak of, divine masculine and divine feminine, but then again, why is it male or female? It's not exactly that. It's just maybe active or passive principles. We can call these things different ways. But so as not to get off topic, but nonetheless, here's my point being, as we all are overcoming differences and seeing that they're not really having to be so pronounced or fought over, proving so strongly that we are individuals and, well, here's me and there's you, let's fight about it or something like that. We're understanding the overall consciousness of the planet is getting, well, there's being a division between those who are truly are past it and ready to move on, and those who are still wrestling with the idea. But the preparation of soul life and the human lessons that have been here is preparing us for ascension and preparing us for our next stage, which is to be part in active day-to-day life, intergalactic, and let us say universal community. It sounds funny because it still seems far-fetched or seems science fiction, but it's really not. And even though these sorts of things have been introduced in a fictional way, it has allowed the rise of the idea of, okay, maybe yes, maybe no, and getting used to it. Like, for example, if we see a movie or read a book speaking about science fiction or something like that, but to know that it is a reality, in the sense of, first it was an idea, and then it became activated or actualized. Simply put this way, we could also examine the fact that, let's look at the amount of technological advancement in an external sense, right? From the year 1900 to the year 2000 alone. In just a small century, so much has been manifested and has happened. It is all very purposeful. But let's go further back in history and look at times where people did not have telephones and TVs on this planet. I'm not saying elsewhere. On this planet, people did not have televisions and cell phones and computers and these sort of things. So, if those things were shown to people back then, it could have been a shock, or it would have been integrated. But when it was chosen for these things to start happening, and in various stages, we were able to more and more accept them. So by looking at this history, we can also look and predict the future and to say that there are things ahead that are going to be even more spectacular and better. But it has all been for the soul. It has been for the being that is experiencing it. The great source self, the great life essence of the universe, the great God force, we can call it so many names, has been expanded and expressed into a multitude. A being that has been expressed into a multitude and having an interaction with, as far as the mind can think, interaction with various things. So, as we have been on this planet for such a time, and as the souls have gotten their lessons here and have reincarnated many times and have had dealings, and for others, they have not have had as many lives yet. But for those who have felt that it is time to rise and get out of here, well, it is verily time indeed, and it is getting closer. We are, and the point of this is, we are getting to a point where it is known consciously and in a cognitive sense, intergalactic community. The next stage is a higher awareness of exploration, activity, and experiences with space, interaction, things to do outside of this planet. We've been so obsessed for a long time with this planet and what we can do. Hey, I can make a business and get money. Hey, I can go explore the world. I can do this. But now that this has occurred a lot for a lot of souls, the next stage, of course, right, is something else. So the souls of Earth, the human beings, have been prepared for quite some time, and now increasingly and speeding up to a very fantastic moment of being welcomed into that which was already present. And just because we weren't there first didn't mean someone else was not. And now to be embracing this next level of our soul development and our soul evolution. This being said, looking at the people of old and the ancient scriptures and texts and histories and stories, we see that there's a very common thing. Speaking about the gods, speaking about origins, speaking about also predicted futures. So we are in this big story, and it is taking place as ever it was, up until now and beyond. And what we are seeing is now our definitions and our understandings of things are more clear, more enlightened. They're less abstract, they're less in the way of fantasy and fiction. And now we're having a very more accurate depiction of reality. So 1,000 years ago, you would have shown, let's just say a time traveler or a visitor would come and have some kind of cell phone device. But the person looking at it wouldn't know what it was. They'd think it was some kind of strange magic. So what we are doing is now we are aware of things, whereas before we would have had a superstitious fear and this and that. So in a similar sense, now I have a video camera recording this speech. This would have seemed futuristic and amazing magic to someone, some time ago, but now it's just an everyday common thing. So in a similar sense, when people are talking about extraterrestrials and spaceship travels and all sorts of things, this is a reality already for those who have it. And the human race, for Terran or Gaian humans, is also going to see the same thing and going to be experiencing it. So, whereas at first there was selected contactees and people that had, I'm not talking about fake stories and things, but we're talking about real, true encounters and experiences with star family, with brothers and sisters from out and beyond, who have already gone through their own similar growth processes, who are still going on furthering their own soul development growth processes. But now people here are ready to embrace this. And now what is happening, you see, they're very cute and they're very shy. They're not about putting it in everybody's face forcefully. You better believe, or there's some consequences. It's a matter of, it's like they're flirting and they're flaunting in cute little ways, and they're not trying to scare anyone. Those who are, let us say, seeing them as enemies, those who are very much attached to competition and conflict, they feel a lot of pride and conflict inside. They're causing fearful enactments and violence of different kinds. They may see something outwardly as a threat, as a problem. And some people who don't know any better and who have not had any proof perhaps may see things as a threat, whereas it certainly is not. Now I was thinking to say a thing or two, but I might postpone that for a moment. But just bear with me. What is happening now is more and more on a global scale, the excuse to say, I just don't know, is becoming less and less. The reality of embracing our future is, there is always a future just as there was a past behind us. So there is continuance. We are joining into something bigger than just here. It is as if someone lived their whole life in a city and then later excuse me, put it this way. You take a person and they lived a good portion of their life in a city, and then later they said, okay, now that I'm used to that and I've become comfortable and accustomed, now I'm going to look at the country. Now I'm going to look at the world. And we have done this. Over a series of lifetimes and incarnations in denser bodies, temporary modes, we have been going through this process, and the next phase, the next stage is here. Moreover, certain of the star beings and travelers have been more than happy and more than willing, and have and are and will incarnate into the human experience in order to assist people. So there is talk about star seeds and many things. These are areas and topics in which people are more than free to look, and information is available. But the main purpose of this talk is simply that the level of contact, as it were, is growing. The level of proofs and the showings, the sightings of things is growing. As somebody wishes to discover, and as they are ready to experience and encounter, they will. I can tell you a truth, certainly so, that if let's say theoretically on a day that more than half the world population was ready, and all of us decided to lie down yeah, the time frame differences, day and night, but something that would be considered fair in the middle, and everyone was to lie down and look up. Imagine what our friends up there would think. They would be happy to show off and come and do something. So a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're trying to slowly get us adjusted to the idea, and then another part is up to us to look and embrace and seek, because the more it is a natural process, and the more that we do so, the more that it will become. The more it will come to a very wonderful moment. Now, the talk of disclosure has been going on for some time. Disclosure is already here, but it is more in the I don't want to say covert, but it's not as obvious to the public at large, but it is there and obvious and a truth for those who are looking for it, and for those who have had contacts and experiences with interdimensional beings and even EBEs, even biological entities from elsewhere, but to the same purpose. Then it is about, well, it's more than high time, and the proofs are more than there, and they're more than satisfactory. So what to expect is, on a bigger and global scale, the disclosure is coming. It will be less for a select few who are looking for it, but more and more and more. Well, it's not even that. It's the more as people are willing and ready, so it is happening. As it is being prepared within, it will become a reality manifested without. And these are very excellent things. One of the big things is for those who are still attached to domination, like we have individuals who think that the purpose of their life is to rule the planet, to have others in subservience, to have an idea of greater and lesser. These ultimately are illusions and delusions, and they are polarities and such, and they are needed to be witnessed. But it is the insecurity within and the lack of growth within those individuals who don't get the bigger picture of the isness and the tie that binds for all beings, which are part of one great being. And as long as someone is choosing to think that they have to control a 3D reality, they're not ready to leave it or to accept the fact that, well, someone may seem to be, a big fish in the pond here, but in the ocean are not very much. So those who are of this mentality, we can pick names and pick on governments and say it's these guys and those guys and da-da-da. It doesn't really matter. It's of a type of level of mind and level of soul, of pride and insecurity. They are trying to tell people that the star families are enemies, that they are here to destroy, they're here to enslave, they're mind control, yada yada. This could not be further from the truth, and the opposite of the truth. There is a very distinct reason why people are having bad experiences with certain types and are having excellent, wonderful experiences with other types. The deals and pacts made with different persons and individuals and groups of persons, well, as it is popularly or commonly known in very many circles that are studying these things, call it exopolitics and various different things, people that are trying to be on the fringe end of disclosure and whatnot, that those who are in league with the same ideas and ideals, control and manipulate, they are of a type, and those who are about benevolence and love and respect and soul evolution and growth are of a type. So there are various experiences with different types of beings, and associating with those who are of a similar type or not. So by saying that in a funny, cryptic way, what I mean is, for example, it's not about trying to brag or anything like that, but there are many people who have been contacted and who have some friendly connections and communications with star beings. Star people, we can call them, we can even give specific names from places they're from, but it doesn't really matter. It's of a common theme. And that idea is for ascension. And then there are those who are for still being obsessed with the control and the difference of you and me, and the fighting and the competing over things. The source, the God, we call it as we will, is all being. All that which appears to be separate is of this one great isness. And again, as I repeat myself, there is being and then there is thing. So while certain individuals and types of souls think that there is a fight over resources and that there is a competition of things and there is a need to fight and improve things, what it comes down to is the basic argument in the universe. The entity that is of serve self and compete in a fearful modality, it's all for me and like I can't trust you, and these sort of things, which seems to be of a more childish or a more immature disposition, a fearful disposition and a lack of perception of a bigger picture, and the embracing of higher self. And then those who are with development more and more seeing the unity of all things and of a benevolent nature. Those who are speaking indeed of love and light and of wisdom and of the understanding of things, and who are promoting the communication between individuals, who are trying to have the understanding of the fairness and the balance of things, and trying to accept something for what is and not trying to fight or wrestle with it too much. So a soul is a soul entity, an individuated soul entity coming from Source, is trying to align with one or the other disposition, but it is as if being exhaled for a certain amount of time, and then having the idea, and then that moment of insight, and it could be, it's not measured in human years, hundreds of thousands, billions of years, it's not measured in years. A trip out could take as long as it takes, as long as one could even think of, or conceive to think of. So, when a soul spark entity is individuated off from God's source isness, then it is of one alignment with the other. That which is looking for higher self in a unity, or still fighting, still clinging to the idea of a separate self that needs to compete. So this is sort of the war that is going on within us, within each soul spark. This is the polarity and the fight which is inside of us, that all sentient soul entities possess. But those who are rising above the idea of compete and fight, and who are looking for unity and love of things, and expression of things, and overall expansion, it's like natural soul evolution brings about and culminates back into godhood, if you like to call it this way. The recognition and the awareness of I also am it. This was spoken of by Jesus Christ, by Siddhartha the Buddha, going back further into other areas and other planets for that matter. Those who were able to look at reality and perceive it, uncovering the many layers of it, found the same things. And that is not because it's just a belief or an idea system, but it is about an awareness of that which already is, and being in tune and in agreement with it. So by my saying that, what is happening on the earth is now there is going to be a choice before all, as ever there was, who wants to go on to the next stage, bigger and better things, and who is going to return to this type of crude or barbaric or animal type of lifestyles. People talk about eternal heaven and eternal hell. Well, it's not exactly like that. It's more along the lines of you put yourself and you keep yourself where you are drawn to, while being called by either polarity, and those are being the extremes of things, saying, where do you want to go? Do you want to return back to the perfection of selfhood within the great source, or fight and rebel and try to keep small self at any cost, even to the harm of others? And this is what's happening. So what is happening to the earth, this earth, and the experience and the lesson of it is the great division. Those who are going to be ascending and going this way, and those who are still fighting in the competitive conflict modalities of fear, and even in a sense of doing violence to others in order to keep it or to prove it. We can think of children, I mean, from an adult perspective, fighting over trivial little things, whereas guys, you can share. And when we see in the adult years, when we see certain types that still haven't learned that lesson, so you see, it takes a long time to wean off of old habits and modalities that, well, they've been serving you, but not necessarily for your own betterment. But that is a whole subtopic to get into. To try to keep this video short, that the contact is already here, and it is going to grow. More and more people will be aware of it. My own prediction will be, before it's going to be en masse in everyone's face, but the sightings of UFOs and whatnot, not UFO, unidentified, not unidentified. Those who have some familiarity and who have had some experience, those who have been on ships, those who have been experiencing it. And many more have than you would think, because this often takes place at night, and in some conscious ways and in astral ways. Sometimes in the physical, but sometimes in the astral, and going to experience these realities. So more people even than they think, more than we might think, have been experiencing it. What I'm saying, in a waking, conscious daylight, these things are being more and more evident. The proof of things is going to be more and more and more evident. The excuses for people to deny more evident. And now, by seeing these things, people ask the question, well, what does this mean? If they're here, then who are we, and who are they, and what's going on? What that simply has to do with is embracing the next stage. People that are entering into higher dimensional existence and awarenesses for the next purposes of inner and outer exploration and enjoyment of life. Being is enjoying itself, and this is what we are of and what we are. So the divorce on the planet is going to be those who are ready, as I keep saying, and as it's been echoed through all history, those who are ready to ascend and go into that, and those who are not. And it's not about being tortured in hell forever because you didn't choose it or weren't ready for it. There can be a lot of punishments for those who were very violent and very cruel to a lot of people. No one has gotten away with a thing, a single thing. All that is done is known. So there can be such a thing as harshly humbling a very negative entity. But even that negative person had a lot of chances to turn around. And even right now, to this day, to this moment, could still do so. Will they? Well, that's their own choice. My message for this video, again, is contact is coming. It's bigger, it's more than ever before. And more people that are remembering their own identity and realities are starting to get a very interesting wake-up call and a recognition of things. The soul knows many things. The subconscious knows and is many things. But when we are identifying and associating so strongly with the already dead and dying 3D body, we're doing ourselves a disfavor. Clinging to the identity and the association with that which is already passing and is bound to pass. When we can spend enough time with being, we realize we are being, we are source, soul, self. And do we want to punish ourselves and beat ourselves up and keep ourselves in these harsh realities and repeat the same lessons, and get humbled even worse in some cases? Or do we want to go above and beyond? So the contact is there. It is not so much a matter of always saying, well, come prove it, so let's wait for them to do something. They already are. The more we are already inside, the more we could ask, the more self-prepared one is, a person, an individual is, the more it is good for the whole unity of all of us. So If you are someone that's interested in that and you have not had contact, although many people have, you don't have a semblance of an idea. You already have a semblance of an idea, if not. You already believe if you have not had the proof of it. Well, how much more being self-prepared and having an internal awareness and saying, well, where do I want my future to go? Is it in a higher awareness of reality, in a better life, better growth internally, better activation internally, and thus also externally, exploring the stars and being with wonderful beings, or stay here on this type of a school planet and keep fighting? It comes down to that. We already know we're going to die. We are already mortal. Death was a great proof that you weren't staying here anyway. So to ask ourselves, where do we want our future to be? It's not about humming and hawing and, oh, well, maybe I'll take fries with my burger, maybe not. It is reality. You and I, as these bodies are going to die, the future is going to be what we desire and want it to be. Those who want it to be terrible and full of fighting and conflict, maybe they'll get a very nasty rude awakening and they got to repeat the whole thing, or the great humbling comes back to them. And those who are ready to embrace and go with the star families, but it's still one family. Those who are of good, those who are vibrated and animated of light, of caring, of consideration, of respect, already are one, and being drawn back into one being, one source, ever going onwards. So let's ask ourselves where we stand and if we are ready to embrace this. It sounds funny because someone could ask a question or desire it and it doesn't happen, but when it does, and it will happen, no one should be able to say by that point, well, I had no idea what was going on, because that's not true. Our own future is very bright for those who wanted a bright future. It is as simple as that, guaranteed. Those who are not of Terra and bound to Terra, extraterrestrial, our star family, many of which interdimensional beings, not even in a physical sense, are already there and waiting and happy and have been helping and have been watching since the beginning. What a very beautiful thing. And imagine for those of us who are, and for those of us who will, to do the same assistance for others. There's lots to do. We have all time and all space to do it. It doesn't even exist. There's time beyond time and space beyond space. I don't know how we could even put it. Well, perhaps you know what I mean by that. But as for time, the time is running out and getting short for the distance in which these things are coming, because it's getting close. 2012 wasn't it. The December thing from the Mayan peoples was not agreed upon by other tribes who also had a part of it and had the knowledge of prophecy. There is not exactly a date that is going to happen, but it's getting close, isn't it? It's creeping up very beautiful, and the contacts are increasing daily. The amount of sightings and the amount of experiences are doubling and tripling as the years go by. It is quite amazing. Even as the Earth's population is growing, so are these things doubling and going beyond and beyond. It's very excellent. So, inwardly prepared, willing and able to embrace it, understanding no matter what appearances may be, a being of love and good intention and benevolence. If we are the same inside, they are the same inside, then already our family. We could travel trillions of miles in whatever direction. If we found beings of the same thing, then we knew we are one and of one same ultimate being. Call it God. What an amazing universe this is. What an amazing reality that it is. Think outside the box and realize we're already there. That's a very good thing. A very humble namaste and a sincere one from me. I wish you well and your learning and your comfort in this and your security in this and your embracing of it. Because there's still a lot of fear-mongering about this whole thing going on. consider the sources of those who are giving negative things, and maybe where their allegiances lie. There's a big difference between skepticism and then something ignorantly promoting fear and deliberately promoting fear. And then there is that which is hope and enlightenment. We base our knowledge on our experiences, and we often say we know something whereas we don't know it, but we think we do, and in a faith-based way we say that's a fact. But to get the facts straight, nothing is better than to simply look at them in a naked light, no preconceived ideas, and say what is. There is way too much information on the internet for anybody, well, for anyone who's interested to look at it, and after you study it for such and such a time, even if you didn't have your own individual experiences, you will know whether or not it's so. The proof should be irrefutable even within that, all the videos and all the testimonies, if we're willing to look at them and believe them. Some of the videos and some of the really good ones coming out nowadays should be pretty much irrefutable. I'm not saying someone throws a hubcap and, well, there's one, but when you see fast movements in the clouds and all sorts of different things, and stars moving quickly and changing directions and all these kind of things, and light, well, those who have seen it, they know what I'm talking about. That itself is enough proof, but how much even better when we have interaction with the beings thereof. More and more. And for those who ask, so may they receive. It doesn't mean right away, but as we are seen as prepared and able to handle it, then our friends can show themselves to us. That's very true. Take care for now. I wish you well. May you find truth. May you keep what caution you need. May you have an open mind and an open heart. And ask yourself where you would like to be in the future. And if this is happening, and it is, contact with other beings from elsewhere, how are we not already one? The intention is the same thing. Catch you on the flip side. Take care now.